Hello and welcome to Configuring Your Serverless App for Automatic Deployment. This is going to be a really fun video where I'll show you the different options that you have available for deployment sources. And then we're going to connect a function app to a local Git repo and create and update Azure functions from that local Git repository. Here we've got a new function app and it's completely empty. There's no functions in it. Nothing's been set up on it. And we're going to start by creating some deployment credentials. Let's go to Platform Features, choose in the Code Deployment section, the deployment credentials. And notice that the local Git and FTP can't use the same credentials as the portal. It uses different credentials, so we're going to create that right here, packed serverless, give it a password. That just takes a few moments to successfully set those credentials. Next thing is going into the Deployment Center. Deployment Center is where we can configure our connections. Now, if you chose something like VSTS or GitHub or Bitbucket, there are some more options where it's wanting you to choose the source and do some more configurations here in the UI. What I'm going to choose is the local Git, which is another source similar to OneDrive or Dropbox. This is going to connect to my local computer. So I'm going to click Continue and Finish. By clicking Finish, it's going through a little bit of setup and giving me a URI that I can use for my terminal in VS Code to clone a Git repo. We're going to use those same deployment credentials that we just set. Let's switch over to VS Code. And using the terminal, to establish this connection, we'll use the same credentials that we just created. We can see that the downloaded files from the Azure Functions app is not much. All we get is an empty host JSON, or in this case, one that has just the version of the app that's being used. But with no function files there, we're going to need to add some. We can add them directly from VS Code. We'll go to Functions and create a function. Now, it's going to ask us to create the function app project. This is not creating the function app on Azure. It's just creating the files from VS Code that the plugins are going to use to generate the functions during deployment. Yes, we'll initialize the project. We're going to use a C#, set an HTTP trigger, give it a name, a namespace, and set rights. We can open the files now in the current window, and this just kind of sets our folder view to be the new repo that was just created. We also see in our source control that we've got some changes we can check in. So let's stage these changes, give it an initial commit message. And we are committed here. You can see that we have one change that we can push up. I'm going to open up the terminal. And I'm going to do a git push. Now, I could have also gone through and just hit this Synchronize Changes button in VS Code. However, we wouldn't see any of the output here that can be really helpful, especially when you're just going through it for the first time. So we're seeing the build is kicking off, and it's doing configuration on the remote function app, downloading the files that it needs. And I'll show you what it looks like on the portal. In the portal, inside the Deployment Center, we can see that this is kicked off, that it's currently running the deploy command. And when this refreshes and changes to success, we'll have our function app. I'll say that again. When we refresh and the status changes to successful, we will have deployed our function. As the deployment completes and the build process is done, we're going through the final steps here to do some cleanup. And we've finished successfully. Well, we've come a long way with our function apps and our Azure functions, but we may not want to go too far. So join us in the next video when I show you how to scale and define limits for your serverless applications.